Most people think the rich are fearless, that they make bold moves because they have money to fall back on, like they play a different game entirely. But the truth is, the rich feel fear too. They just respond to it differently. What separates them from everyone else isn't the absence of fear, it's their relationship with risk. And if you can understand that, you'll see why some people rise no matter how many times they fall, while others spend their whole lives trying to avoid a single mistake. Let's start with a brutal truth. Most people are not afraid of losing money. They're afraid of losing certainty. They need guarantees, stability, predictability. They need to know what's coming tomorrow before they can breathe today. But the rich have learned to live without guarantees. They understand that certainty is the most expensive illusion in the world, and those who demand it will always pay for it. Because in every transaction, someone sells safety and someone buys opportunity. The poor buy safety, the rich sell it. Think about it. Banks pay you a tiny return to hold your money safely, then take that same money and lend it out 10 times over, taking risks you were too afraid to take. Insurance companies get rich by selling you peace of mind. They profit from your discomfort with uncertainty. The entire financial world is built on one principle. Most people would rather feel safe than be free. And that's exactly what the rich understand. Freedom requires exposure. It requires risk. It requires loss. But here's the paradox. The rich don't take reckless risks. They take calculated exposure. They know risk isn't the enemy. It's information. Every loss, every failure, every downturn reveals something the crowd doesn't yet understand. That's why the rich study losses. They dissect them. They learn from them faster than anyone else. Meanwhile, the average person experiences loss as identity damage. They say, "I failed." The rich say, "That strategy failed." One turns inward and hides. The other adjusts and re-enters the game. The rich don't see losing as losing. They see it as tuition. They pay for knowledge with mistakes. They pay for insight with discomfort. While everyone else waits for the right time, the rich are already gathering data from the field. That's why they move faster, because every loss adds precision to their next move. They understand something most people don't. Risk is not random. It's a mirror. It reflects how much clarity you have about what you're doing. The more you know yourself and the game you're playing, the less risky it becomes. And yet, the poor and middle class avoid risk as if it's poison. They don't realize that avoiding risk is the biggest risk of all. Because when you avoid uncertainty, you also avoid growth. You avoid learning. You avoid evolution. You end up working the same job with the same fears, in the same routine, mistaking consistency for progress. That's not stability. That's stagnation. Here's something most people don't realize. Rich people lose more often than anyone else, but their losses are smaller per attempt and larger in insight. The average person saves for years, then takes one massive risk. Buying a house, starting a business, making a big trade. When it fails, they're emotionally destroyed because it's the only shot they gave themselves. The rich take many small, calculated risks, constantly testing, adjusting, observing. They never bet everything. They build anti-fragility, systems that get stronger through exposure, not weaker. This is why they can lose a fortune and rebuild it, because they never invested their identity in their possessions, only in their adaptability. There's a story few people know. After losing nearly half his fortune in the 2008 crisis, one billionaire was asked how he stayed calm. He said, "I don't measure my wealth in money, I measure it in competence." That's the mindset of the rich. Their real wealth is in what they know how to rebuild, not what they temporarily own. And that's why they sleep at night while others panic, because they don't fear starting over. Most people see losing as an ending. The rich see it as recalibration. If you're finding this valuable, take a moment right now. Follow the channel and like this video. Because understanding risk isn't about gambling with money, it's about mastering your emotions in a world designed to weaponize fear. Let's go deeper. The rich understand that fear and greed are the same emotion, just pointed in opposite directions. Both are attachment to outcome. When you're afraid, you can't see opportunity. When you're greedy, you can't see danger. Both states blind you, so the rich learn emotional neutrality. They practice detachment, not from ambition but from urgency. They make decisions from data, not dopamine. They train themselves to stay logical when others drown in adrenaline. That's why during crises, they buy, not because they're fearless, but because they know everyone else is temporarily insane. Here's something the rich do that almost no one else does. They put a price tag on fear. They ask, how much does this fear cost me every year? Fear of investing, fear of quitting, fear of trying something new. Every one of those fears has a financial cost. Lost growth, lost freedom, lost potential. And when you measure fear like an expense, you start realizing how expensive inaction really is. Most people think risk management means minimizing losses, but the rich know true risk management means maximizing control over your reactions. They build psychological stop losses. They know in advance how much they're willing to lose in money, time, and emotion before the decision is made. This way, when things go wrong, they don't spiral. They execute. They already expected turbulence, so they don't take it personally. The poor make decisions in the moment. The rich make them before the moment happens. Here's another secret. The rich treat uncertainty like an investment class. They literally allocate part of their portfolio to chaos, startups, innovation, disruptive ideas, not because they expect each one to succeed, but because they know one win can pay for 100 failures. They've learned to monetize volatility. They know that the world rewards those who absorb short-term pain for long-term power. That's why when markets crash, they're already preparing to buy, while everyone else is searching for safety. The average person fears volatility. The rich feed on it. But the most fascinating part of the psychology of risk is this. The rich have a completely different definition of loss. To them, a loss is not something taken from you. It's something traded for information, for experience, for access. They see every setback as a down payment on understanding. That's why they don't obsess over recovering losses. They focus on extracting meaning from them. If you can find meaning in failure, you've already converted loss into profit. There's one more layer. The rich understand that risk doesn't just exist in finance, it exists in identity. Every time you reinvent yourself, every time you challenge the version of you that others expect, you're taking a risk. And the richer you become, the more identity risk you must take. Because true wealth isn't just about money, it's about who you're willing to become to deserve it. The poor cling to one identity, one career, one title, one definition of success. The rich evolve constantly. They shed old identities like snakes shed skin. That's why they keep expanding. They're never finished becoming. If you're still listening, that means something inside you understands this truth. You don't fear losing, you fear staying the same. And that's the moment real growth begins. If this message hits you, pause right now and subscribe to Rich Logic. Because what you'll hear here isn't mainstream advice, it's the mindset of the rare few who play the game above fear. Here's the irony of risk. The more you try to avoid it, the more power it has over you. But when you face it, study it, and live through it, you become unshakable. You start realizing that risk is not there to hurt you. It's there to measure your readiness. The world doesn't reward the reckless, but it does reward the prepared. Those who can act while others freeze, who can lose without collapsing, who can start again without bitterness. Because every cycle, every crash, every loss is simply the universe asking one question. Can you stay calm in the storm? Those who can inherit the aftermath. So next time you feel fear when making a decision, pause and ask yourself, what is this fear trying to protect me from? And what opportunity is hiding behind it? Because in that question lies the entire difference between the rich and the poor. One obeys fear, the other negotiates with it. The psychology of risk isn't about being fearless. It's about understanding that losing is part of winning, that every fall is a form of feedback, and that the only real failure is refusing to play. If you've ever wanted to understand how the rich think, it starts here. They don't fear loss, they fear wasted potential, and that's why, no matter what happens, they never stop moving. So like this video, share it with someone who's ready to start seeing risk differently. And remember, the goal isn't to avoid loss. It's to become the kind of person who can't be destroyed by it.